Hello.
Hi, we are live.
Hi, I'm Bret.
And I'm Stephen.
And we are Broadway Husbands. If you have not met us before, we're so happy to be here.
Hello.
We are going to be chatting with our fertility doctor. We had our son almost a year ago.
What?
And Dr. Leondires is going to join us, and we're going to talk with him about our journey. So if anyone is considering surrogacy or has questions about surrogacy, you are more than welcome to join us and pop some questions down here.
Please ask questions.
In the question sticker you'll see down here, we'll probably answer a lot of your questions. But we hope you'll stick around and follow us at Broadway Husbands and go follow Dr. Leondires as well. He is at Gay Parents to Be. He's pretty awesome. Let me just see. He's just going to request to join. So we're just going to wait and see if we get that request from him. For those of you that don't know us, I have originally from Texas.
What?
He's originally from
you
Pittsburgh.
Are? Oh, I am? Yes.
We met and got married in New York City.
That's right.
And our son, Maverick, was born
March 26th.
last year. And he's asleep right now. On our
broken monitor.
Our broken baby monitor, it cracked.
Because we forgot our monitor at home that we normally use.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a journey for us. We actually moved back to New York about 5 weeks ago after moving away during the pandemic, and so we're really, really in the thick of like a big change. Yeah. And our son is like nailing it. Like
he's doing great.
Fine. The baby is fine. Yeah, we're stressed out and exhausted, but he's great.
Is killing it.
So I'm gonna see if I can actually
go to the question.
What?
No, you can request
him. Maybe. Yeah. Something with the connection not working. It kicks us off. It kicks who off? Everybody off? Oh, Steven's on. Should hopefully make it better. All right, we were trying to get on the Wi-Fi. Hey, Hong Kong, that's so cool.
Wow,
Hi.
morning Hong Kong.
We were waiting for Dr. Leondires to join us. Hey, Brian.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Let us know where you're watching from as you join in. That made it worse. It was great before. Now it's lagging. Yeah.
Well, we're here. We're live.
Hopefully it will settle. It will get better. Let us know.
It will get better.
If there's any other issues. Yeah.
All right.
Morning from the UK.
Hello.
All right. So let me just see. Where did you both go for possible egg donors? So again, right now, if you have questions, because we're going to start getting a lot of people scrolling, those questions are going to get lost here in the feed. So to help us out, so we make sure we get your questions, go to the little question bubble down here. If you don't see it, there's a little plus sign. It'll open up your little menu, and you can do a little question sticker, and then we won't lose your questions as we continue to talk.
Hello, Ireland. Hi.
Still don't see Dr. Leondires here yet. Okay, hi guys. Michigan, Miami, Ireland. Oh, we met a gay couple here in New York who have a baby.
Yes.
Via surrogacy, and they are from
Ireland.
Ireland as well.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that in Ireland, gays can't go through. You can't legally do it. They had to do the whole process here. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because the Catholic Church really sort of runs the government there.
Oops.
Hi from Houston. What's up, Houston?
Argentina. Hola. Hello.
This is my first time here. Well, welcome.
We're so glad you're here. And we're so excited to talk about our surrogacy journey and how helpful Dr. L was in helping us.
Dr. Leondires is their fertility doctor.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's
the best.
He is the best.
I'm
not sure where he is, so we'll just kind of keep...
Yeah, let's start.
Hi, gay parents to be. Where are you? Hello, gay parents to be.
All right.
I don't know where he's...
Well, we'll start with the first.
So whenever you get a chance, gay parents to be, just go ahead and click the little plus sign to come join us. And we'll add you in. How do I join? How do I join? You have to request to join. I can't find your handle. Hold on. This is so hard to do when I'm not holding the phone. Yes, I don't see. You have to request to join. There. Is this gonna work? Come on. Instagram is being so glitchy.
Glitch.
I'm clicking accept.
There we go.
Oh my God.
Hi.
I'm old. I can't do these things.
No,
You
it's
made it.
not you. It's Instagram's
It's
glitch.
It's 6:50. It's 7:59. Where are they? I'm doing okay. How are you guys doing?
How are you? Good.
Good.
We're good. Yeah.
We're good. For people who don't know, tell us a little bit about tell the audience here a little bit about you and
are
what
we
you do.
really here to talk about you? So what I do,
I mean,
yeah,
we
what
got
I
to a little
do
into
is
that.
I help people like us, right? So, I was just looking back. I met you guys in 2018. So your little man's actually already 4 years old, right? So I'm a dad through egg donation and surrogacy. I'm also the medical director at Illume Fertility, and I launched a different, web.
A little freeze. Y'all glitch. Not sure what's going on. All the tech is Mercury in retrograde now? Is that what's happening?
Be.
All the glitches. View requests. I don't know why this is so glitchy.
Very glitchy.
Come back.
We're trying.
Yeah, that was so strange. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened. So I'm a reproductive endocrinologist. 70 to 80% of my patients are dads to be. I'm outside of New York Metro. I have patients from actually all over the world now, which is kind of amazing. And my passion is helping our community have babies, across the LGBTQ plus spectrum. So I'm just so excited to see you guys. I'm excited to follow you guys, your story as you go through, and really excited to chat tonight.
Yeah, me too. It's so nice to see you.
Yeah. It's crazy. So do you want to
the first thing we were gonna sort of chat about was like, how did we decide to become dads?
I don't know. I mean, it was like wasn't like in a moment. I mean, I think that we always probably had the idea, right? I mean,
we just never knew how it was gonna happen.
Yeah, we never knew how. I mean, for the longest time, we always wanted or said we were gonna adopt. And
then we met you.
And then we met Dr.
No, but it wasn't until I just always assumed surrogacy was not something we could afford to do.
Yeah.
It's like we're never going to be we're both freelance artists and we make our living. We don't have like a steady income. It's constantly evolving. So,
I like how you said that, evolving instead of fluctuating.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
And so when you and I met, because Stephen couldn't be there that day, I think he had a show or something.
Yeah.
When you and I met, you helped me understand. Oh, you don't have to just like have this like huge bank account to get started
once, right?
Yeah, I think it is overwhelming to think of all the pieces a gay couple needs to put in place to have a baby. But if you take it in more bite-sized portions, for lack of a better vernacular, it's doable. So, I always think about it, take care of my dads first, find an egg donor, make embryos and freeze them. And then the biggest, longest, most expensive process is finding the surrogate.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was
That's
true for
right.
us. That was very true for us. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, but we met you. I remember I had registered for a Men Having Babies event in New York, which was just going to be like an informational thing. And I got an email from you or your team or somebody. It was like, before if you have questions, we should meet. And so I came in and had this one-on-one with you, and I was like, that's our doctor. That's him.
Oh.
Stephen, I was like, we're going to use him. And he was like, really? Yes, that's the guy.
Yeah.
Um,
So I'm trying to remember. It's the next thing we're going to talk about is like, do you remember our first visit? Like, so I can remember like making the decision to go the surrogacy route. And then I remember, you know, going and getting our sperm tested. And that was like December, November of 2017. And then
He's good with dates. I can't remember.
I can remember because I was super stressed out.
I remember we talked about some gear that you typically wore, that we
Yeah.
were concerned about
My
that.
sperm, you know, like super personal, but the number wasn't great for like really, you know, fine looking
For
swimmers.
maximum benefit.
And so I was super stressed out, and I remember I was going to do a performance, and my partner was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, you know, like it was like already the first road bump, right?
For those of you that don't know, Steven's a ballet dancer, so
Right.
he wears dance belts and tights all the time. So we had to take care of some things to help that.
Yeah. So that was like the first bump in the road, really. And then the first time we came to your office was it in March of 2018 or no?
I'm terrible with dates.
You know, I can pull things up, but basically the routine is usually, you know, we do I call it a scout semen analysis, make sure everything's doing okay and see if there's anything to improve, whether it be vitamins or the rare case you need to see a urologist. If that's all good, then you come in for a, you know, it's an hour-and-a-half visit. It's produce your specimen, we get blood work to satisfy the FDA, you have a physical exam, you complete a questionnaire, and then, you know, that portion's done. The other thing that he needs to get done is recessive carrier screening for like hundreds of genes that cause disease. So you guys probably did that day as well. And then that comes back, and that's always like, well, what disease do I have? But I always have to reassure patients that you don't have that. It's just kind of in your family tree, right?
Yeah. So that was in March of 2018.
But I think it's interesting that, you know, most people assume the first hurdle is getting the surrogate.
Right.
And I think that what
approach.
you helped me understand was like how possible it is to just get started and do it. You know, yes, it took longer than if we had gone through an agency and just like dumped a bunch of money, but
maybe not.
Or maybe not. Who knows?
You could make it work quickly in the other way. Yeah.
But I guess you know, I guess my question really is like, how do you advise people who, you know, you already kind of mentioned this, like making the embryos, but then how do you advise people in your office and through parents to be and going to the next step?
So I think that, you know, everybody has their own path, right? And, you know, for anybody who's a member of our community, it's really hard to become a parent. And you have to decide if you want to do a biological parenting pathway or a foster to adopt parent pathway or a straight adoption pathway. And if you're committed to a biological parenting pathway, understand that it does take a lot of time. The fastest it takes anybody is 18 months, right? And that's like if everything lines up. But it's usually more like a 2-year, 2.5 year to baby timeline. And if people can just understand that and take it in segments, that's fine. And I think that, you know, I know we're supposed to talk about this, so let's just dig into it. I mean, the finances for this are real. You know, it's, you know, $200,000 to have a baby, right? But that's over time. And I'm really proud and privileged and happy to be one of the people who have kind of pushed the envelope on getting coverage for our community, because there's a lot of large employers that now have coverage. You guys as basically freelancers never got that benefit, but you know, there's a lot more people in 2022 who actually have family building benefits as members of the community. And you know, we're working as Illume Fertility on the state basis to expand the mandates at Connecticut and New York to be inclusive for our community as well. If you want to be a parent, you should be able to get there, and you should have access to the same infertility benefits, not more, but the same that our straight friends have, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I agree. And so, and you know, we were able to do it through a little bit of financing, through savings, and then we were very lucky when we talk about the surrogate. So we could talk about that for a second, because we were trying really hard to like figure out how to match with a surrogate without going through an agency, because the fees are so expensive. And so I went on Facebook.
And which is not, I don't think it's a.
Which I know
think
people
it's
have
a
had
good
success
thing.
on there,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah,
it was a
to
little
try.
It was a nice try, and
I
you
mean,
were so game.
diplomatic.
You were
You're
so like,
diplomatic
look, I'll
and,
entertain this, you know.
But I will say, like, before we even got to our first possible surrogate, we had a lot of interesting messages from people who were clearly not going to be our surrogate. So, you know, you put that out there and you will get crazy messages. But, you know, we did end up speaking with somebody who had already been carried 2 babies for somebody else and had children of her own, which is a prerequisite to be a surrogate, which is something that it's interesting that a lot of people don't realize that, because people, I don't know, people just don't realize that.
Well, does
to
she
be a
have kids of her
surrogate-
own? She has to.
Yeah, because
like,
people
that's
are always
part of
asking that, right? So she had all of the, you know, she had done it before, and we did a team day with her, and she passed. Everything was okay. But we had to take a pause because of our finances. Not some finance.
Wait.
I tried to gloss over it.
She passed. Well, I remember Dr. Leondires being very honest. He's like, listen, I'm slightly concerned, but if you like her and you want to go with her, we can do it. And I was like, so grateful for your honesty, and so grateful that you weren't just like taking the money and running, right? So,
Yeah. You know, I think that I get it as much as I can, so I can sympathize and empathize just because I've been on the patient side. You know, this is a huge thing, and there's a lot of things that go into your surrogate. There's medical, but there's also like where she lives, her partner, how you get along with her. You know, everything else is this relationship, and I don't think most people realize, like, they put so much effort into looking for their donor, and finding your donor is a lifelong decision, right? But it's kind of like you meet your donor, you might, you know, keep in touch with them, but, you know, then your surrogate journey is a 12-month relationship. Like, you're getting married, right? You're talking every day. You talk to your surrogate more than you do anybody else in your life. So, like, there's so many things that make that surrogate match important. And you know, I mean, I have a reputation for being almost too honest, but I do tend to try to, like, let people know my concerns. But, you know, I believe in informed consent. I believe people can make their own decisions. Listen, I'm not always right, and I can't always predict how things are going to go. But, you know, we've managed at my practice, you know, I don't know, somewhere around 1,500 to 2,000 surrogacy journeys at this point in time. So there's a lot of, like, experience that goes into that. And I think you guys know that our nursing staff here, you know, behind the scenes will, like, nudge you in certain directions and so on, because they're also really experienced and been with me for a long time.
Yeah. So, you know, I don't want to say long story short, but we matched with her. She passed, and we were going to go through with it. We got down to signing the contract with the lawyer. You know, everything was written up, and we were getting ready to sign. And we had to take a little bit of a pause because the past 4 years have been crazy, regardless of, like, surrogacy. I mean, like, this is before the pandemic. We moved to Charleston.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we were coming back to New York. It was crazy. Anyways, so we had to take a pause, and she just didn't want to wait.
She didn't want to wait.
So she decided not to do it.
And it was even better because then our friend Crystal volunteered.
Like 2 weeks later, and it was the biggest blessing in disguise. We were so disappointed when she dropped out. Like, it was terrible.
The first one.
Yeah. And then our friend Crystal volunteered at a party, and we, of course, were like, maybe you've had, like, are you drunk? Like, what are you, call me tomorrow? And we did, and she was very serious, and she took the next steps, and since her, you know.
Oh, and let's just remind everyone that the pandemic also hit at that time. So she was coming up to see you without us. We were doing everything on Zoom. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we kind of jumped ahead, but
you know, if you can find somebody in your life that you already have a relationship and a piece and some trust with, you know, it's wonderful. But then they still have to pass all the screening.
Yeah.
And you also have to think about, you know, your future life interacting and so on. So, you know, I find, you know, a lot of the known surrogate potential matches don't go through. In your situation with Crystal, it did go through, and it was awesome, right? And you needed it. Like the universe finally brought that person to you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because like the surrogacy or like this finding the surrogate was quite difficult, but I feel like we jumped one step that I want to go back to is like picking an egg.
Oh yeah, we didn't really
an
talk
egg
about the donor
because we didn't really talk about that. And I think it's
Oh,
important.
this was a good story.
I think it's important to talk because you warned us that so many people get caught up on what color hair are they going to be tall?
Did they
Are
go
they
to
gonna
Ivy
be
League?
Harvard?
Right.
Like all of these things that are clearly not all genetics. We only looked at 3 profiles.
Well, let's also, we went to your donor bank because
Yeah.
you have a bank at your clinic, and so we just used your bank.
And we picked the first profile that we looked at because she had a video, and it was like.
Are you getting emotional?
I'm like so emotional.
You've been
Well,
great.
but she helped you have your son, of course. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a big deal. I mean, I think that people downplay how thankful we are in our community for anybody who donates sperm and egg, and it's like it's an amazing gift for our community to be have a child. But I do think that it's family history, personal medical history, willingness to be known. That she's her eggs look like she could give plenty of eggs for, let's say, a dual sperm source couple and so on. And then everything else is kind of gravy. And because you can't predict the child you're going to have, right? And I always joke, I might have said this, guys, to you, and you, like, your genes are going to mess everything up anyway. So, you're just trying to have a baby, right? And if you think about our straight allies, they don't go through all this stuff. They're like, oops, I'm pregnant, right?
I can remember, just saying to you in one of our visits, like, I just want to have a healthy baby. And then you kind of saying, well, I'm picking, because I don't know exactly what you said, but just like,
You
we're
realize
doing
that's
all
what
of
this is,
testing,
right? Like,
and
that's what this
you're
is.
literally picking the sperm that you're, and I'm like, oh.
You're doing everything you can. You're taking opportunities to do everything you can to move the needle to the healthiest child possible.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantees within that, right? But everything from genetic testing to embryo testing to sperm testing and everything that we can do to help you build your family. Because listen, there's enough hurdles in place, right? Anything we can do to help we want to. But I think that you guys with your donor, you had a video and you had photos? Did you ever do a known donor agreement or no?
Well, I don't even know that we knew that was or maybe there was a thing where we chickened out about it. Like we were like, that might feel weird. Where I think that maybe now we probably would have been like, yeah, let's meet her.
Do it.
I think at the time we just weren't sure.
Well, from 2018 to now, there's a lot more known donation that goes on as well. So times continue to change, and but I think that we want to keep in perspective that you're not getting that woman. You're getting her previous 3 to 5 generations back. So always look at her family tree and always think about the story you're going to tell your child about why you chose her, right? Because our kids are going to ask, like, well, why did you choose her? And it's not going to be because she looked like this. It's going to be like, this profile spoke to us, or like Stephen, you just basically said you just really liked her video, liked her energy that you saw in there, and that's important.
Well, and I will say, one of your nurses, I can't remember if it was Rachel or something, but somebody who had sent the profiles, she sent 3 profiles to start, and we skimmed over that first one and watched the other 2, and we sent her.
Well, the other 2 didn't have videos.
And we sent her a message. We were like, we're not really like. I skimmed over it because she had Italian in her DNA, and I was like, we're Italian, right?
Now we.
So then, I think it was Rachel or one of your nurses said, go back to the first profile. She literally just wrote that in an email, like,
and
go back and re-look at it. And I was like, okay, and we did, and that's when we saw the video, and we both cried, and we're like, this is it.
Yeah, that was done.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to go back to that because, I think that a lot of people could probably get hung up on that and like,
well, there's a bit of a racket around there too. I mean, there's
probably.
like all these Yeah. Anyway, I've seen some of this stuff. I'm like, that's so interesting that they're making all this money off of this when it really is not. Those things that people are valuing aren't going to be really that much of a part of the process, right?
Yeah,
So it's interesting.
I always encourage people to look back at their own family tree, right? And would they pick themselves as a donor, right? If you think about your 2 or 3 generations back and so on. So you just don't know. I mean, I'm one of 4 boys, and we're all very different, right? We have the same parents as far as I know, right? But choosing a donor is definitely hard work. And post-pandemic, you guys mentioned it. Pre-pandemic, I usually would say, let's get your stuff done. Let's find a donor. Let's make embryos. Post-pandemic, the match time for surrogates is approaching a year. So if I meet a new couple now, it's kind of like, well, let's get your stuff tucked in, your genetics and your sperm count done, and then let's try to find an agency or a surrogate for you if you're going to go agency-wise, because that's a 12-month loop. And then we have plenty of time to find the donor. And I think that's the other thing that we touched on in the beginning. This is a long haul for us to have a baby. So there's nothing you're going to rush within it.
No, but it's so worth it, y'all. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
Just saying. So how do you kind of mentioned this, but how do you discuss costs and budgeting with intended parents when it comes up?
First of all, I have a financial department that does that. But I tend to be pretty direct about it. I basically use that $200,000 number, and that number can come down depending on if you have any insurance, or if you have somebody who's going to do a compassionate surrogacy, or a donor that's not going to be asking for as much. Let's say like our donor pool, their compensation is basically right around $8,000 to $10,000, while some of the agencies, you're going to pay an agency fee, and those compensations are going to run more in the teens and higher. But I kind of think about it that the creating embryos is about the $50,000 bucket, and having your baby, compensating your surrogate, taking care of all her medical care, all her travel, insurance, surrogacy agency costs, and so on, takes up that other kind of 150, and that's how you get there. And it is what it is. I think it's really important for people to understand, though, that's not all at the same time, right?
No.
And so it's over a period of time, and that's where you guys took your time.
That's right.
We did.
And actually, I think the pandemic kind of helped, because it slowed some things down and made it possible for us to do things easier, actually.
And people kind of wince when they hear that, like $200,000, and then you're like,
Absolutely.
buy a house for more.
Right.
You'll spend more on a house. And this is a human.
And this is like
Human. This is your human.
this
Right.
is
This
the
is your
best, the best. Yeah.
I mean, for the people who want to be parents, your kids will bring you a whole different kind of love and joy, and we're gonna figure out how to get there. There are organizations that offer grants. There are people that ask for family money. There are people that apply for, let's say, the Nest Egg Foundation or the Life Foundation, or through Men Having Babies. There's a lot of organizations out there to help. Some people end up getting second mortgages. There's low interest loans, but understanding that it's over time and is important. And and it's incredibly stressful, and it shouldn't be as expensive as it is.
No. But we're lucky we live in a country where we can actually do it.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. I always have to remind myself, if there's 200 countries in the world, there's 2 countries that it's me. I might be wrong in this, but I think there's just Canada and the United States that it's truly legal for men to be on the birth certificate. Right?
Wow.
Right? And for you to feel safe. And so it's really a remarkable, for all the problems our country has, it's remarkable that we're able to be dads, right?
And can we talk a little bit about, the failed transfer? Because we did have a first embryo transfer with Crystal, and it didn't make it. And
wait, before we talk about it, let's talk about, we matched with her. This was in 2020. we finally matched with her. We didn't do our first embryo transfer until February 8th of 2021.
Wow.
So, yeah.
See, he's good with dates.
And
so what?
So
I
that's
can't remember how many weeks went by, but I remember like
it's like 4 weeks. Is
there's just the heartbeat, the fetal heartbeat, just kind of faded away.
So, well, I think we're talking about two different things. So typically from the point that somebody, is starting a surrogacy matching process, it's a good 2 to 3 months to get legal clearance and medical clearance done. And then it's usually another 2 months to get to transfer. So that kind of fits into what you're saying, because there's a lot of things the boxes that we need to check. I think it's important for everybody to understand, even when you're using chromosomally normal embryos, right? Ongoing pregnancy rates are about 70%. So that means 30% of the time you're either not pregnant or have what we call biochemical pregnancy, which means the numbers go up, but there's no pregnancy in the uterus, or you have a clinical loss. Either that's a sac in the uterus at a loss or a heartbeat and a loss. And you guys may or may not remember, I have this little step graph that kind of shows all the little hurdles you get over. And our straight allies don't usually announce they're pregnant until they're about 14 weeks, which is basically at that point in time, your chance of having a baby is probably like 95, 97%. So you guys were in that kind of watershed, which it's, Greg and I had the same, we had a pregnancy loss as well. It's devastating. Mm-hmm. And it's out of the blue, and you didn't think it could happen to you. And it's unbelievable how emotional it is. And it's completely sucks. And it sucks for everybody, every infertility patient, every gay couple, everybody across the board. And I think actually, one of the things that I'd love to see is that for everybody to, let's say, sorry for the comment, to come out of the closet about how common miscarriages are. And then people wouldn't feel so alone.
There's so much around it. I don't understand it. And I remember I didn't even realize it was a miscarriage until Crystal called us after she left the clinic, and she was in the car and she started crying. And I was like, oh, that's what this is. And then for 3 months we were depressed, right? I mean, we were really, really sad. And, and of course it's scary too, because some of the laws that are being passed right now are for women's, reproductive laws, So
and that's something that I think, we never really realized until going through it, just, the things that need to be done to help her flush it out of her system. And it was devastating.
It was sad.
Also because being an intended parent, this is so obvious, but so much is out of your control.
Absolutely.
And we had an amazing relationship with our surrogate, and I don't know that everyone has the same relationship that we were lucky enough to have with ours, but so something happens and we talk to her, but then there's a lag with what happens, because then she has to see the doctor, then the doctor, the nurse has to call, and then they call us, so it's intense. It's intense. It's a waiting game.
There's also this always uncomfortable moment where we need to tell your surrogate what happened to her first, right? And we can't actually give that information until we'll get the report from the outside clinic. So there's this huge time sink that you're kind of in this kind of purgatory, that something bad happened, but you can't, you haven't actually heard it yet. I mean, I think that my job is an incredible honor and privilege to help people have families, but it is these kind of peaks and valleys, right? And it's tough. I mean, for a lot of us in our community, we always wanted to have kids. We never knew how we would get there, and then to finally get there and then have that loss is just out of the blue, and you can't go into this thinking that might happen to you, because then you'd never get there, right? So I think one of the powers of humanity is our ability to heal and hope and take our next step.
Yeah,
amen.
And it felt like forever that like I said, her first transfer was on February 8th. I feel like, I honestly can't remember the dates of this, but by the end of May, she was maybe had seen her doctor again and was healing and looking good. And we were able to do our second transfer on July 15th, I believe is the date of 21. And you know, and we'll talk a little bit of personal, like, so embryo number one was the miscarriage. Then when we go to do the next transfer,
I remember this.
we were at an airport.
We were watching from an airport on our phone.
We were flying home, and luckily it all worked out. Our flight was, I mean, it was like crazy how
You did a Zoom transfer.
We did a Zoom transfer because of, you know,
because of COVID.
But we were in there. But you pulled embryo 2 out, and after you had unthawed it, you didn't like the way it looked. And I remember being like, in that moment, thinking that we were going to have to wait longer, because I was so excited, freaked out, and just didn't understand what was going on. And then we pulled out embryo 3, and success, embryo 3 came Maverick. I'm sorry.
You know, I mean, I think that, you know, it's something just for everybody to realize, like, not every embryo survives cryopreservation and warming. And that's why for everybody, you know, everybody in the IVF space, we want you always to have, you know, backup embryos, right? So, you know, it's also crazy to think about, like, Maverick is a unique Maverick, right? He wasn't embryo, no matter your other 2 transfers, you wouldn't have the same baby, right?
Right. I mean,
it's crazy to think about.
I know we always think about that, and yeah. So
thank you for choosing the right embryo.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, you know, I can't say I chose the right. It's just the way it rolled. I mean, and you know, I don't think that. I mean, I can speak for every fertility practitioner and office all across the country. I don't think everybody realizes that we are on that roller coaster with you. We're looking at, you know, 10 to 20 pregnancy tests a day, right? And we have to celebrate our wins, and we have to, you know, support the losses and pick people up to try again, because we know from the literature, if people are able to keep trying, the most people are successful. And, you know, there are some, you know, times that people just decide they have to back away, but, you know, we want to give everybody the opportunity to have the choice to take that next step. And I think that, I mean, I've said this in a public forum before. I mean, for gay couples, you know, we have hundreds of more decisions than anybody else to make, and it costs us like 10 to 20 times more expensive than everybody else. So it is really, really hard. And I think you want a clinic, and there's probably about 10 clinics out there that do a really good job with this, that really gets it, that how hard it is, and able to kind of walk you through it, and you know, and it's work, and it's nothing as gay men. Listen, you know, most gay men are not also reproductive endocrinologists. There's nothing that's familiar to you at all.
No.
Like menstrual cycles, embryo transfers, endometrial linings, you know, it's nothing.
Yeah. It was like the biggest learning experience, like, on so many levels. Yeah. Like, I mean, down to like the mucus plug coming out, and, you know, it was everything.
Yeah.
True.
And it's
never mind delivery. You guys were in the delivery room, right?
Yeah, and it was
like otherworldly.
It was otherworldly. It was magical. It was amazing. It's a moment
surreal.
I'll never forget. And when we first got to the hospital because of COVID, that, like, the first thing was, like, only one of us could go into the room. And then for whatever reason, once we got up to the floor, it was like there were no rules, and we just were all in the room, and it was totally fine. Like, me, Bret, and Crystal's husband. And so we were all there, and it was a magical, amazing thing.
I'll never forget.
I'm sure some nurse, wherever you were, was like, this just has to happen, and they just made it happen. You know, there's the administrators, and then there's the nurses that basically, you know, run the show. They run my office too. Yeah. So they're amazing.
I just want to say, because I feel like most people don't really even understand, how many people do you have on your staff?
Yeah.
So we're 8 doctors, about 150 employees, and on the third party team, it's, you know, 4 nurses, 5 admin people, 2 doctors, and we're our own little group within the group because, you know, third party is complicated and there's a lot of T's to cross and I's to dot, and most people may not realize that we have an FDA inspection every 2 years. If we don't pass it, we can get shut down, and we follow ASRM guidelines. And, you know, we on the East Coast, so, you know, I don't have a problem saying we're the largest, you know, surrogacy office on the East Coast doing transfers and so on. I think we are a little bit more conservative, a little bit more strict, but I think, you know, it is what it is. This is the most important thing in your life. We're not going to cut any corners, right?
Well, and I think that something that I just feel like people, or we even took for granted, is the amount of people who were invested in the success of us becoming parents.
Yeah.
That entire staff, everyone who did the pregnancy tests and the DNA tests and
the therapists,
the freezings and the defrost. I mean, you just think about like how many people in this world, like when I look at Maverick and I think about how many people wanted him to exist.
Yeah. Like, go love
right?
before
it's such a beautiful thing to be able to say to him, you know.
It's your village.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been he'll be a year at the end of the month,
which is crazy. And it feels like from 8 months until now, like the change is huge, right? From the time that he started pulling up until now. I mean, he's not quite walking yet, but he's very close. And just how much he's grown, and his personality and his vocal and just all of the things.
So does he have any talent though? We need to know.
Oh yeah, he's
very
turned out.
Legs and feet.
He gets on releve a lot.
Yeah, he stands on his toes. He sings.
He's very vocal.
He
sings.
Okay, all right, good.
Pitch, but he sings.
And he's been to Disney already, I think, right?
California.
He went to Disneyland.
Yeah.
When he was 3 months.
3 months old. He slept through the whole thing, but it was great.
He did. He slept through the whole thing. Yeah, but he's amazing, and we
feel blessed.
Yeah, we're so lucky, and it's the best thing that we've ever
I will
done.
say, I think that if I were to go back, I probably would have tried as much as I could to take the first 3 months and just be with him, because that's the hardest. To me, that's the hardest part. Those first 3 months of having a baby, it's like because you're just no sleep and all that.
I mean, for everybody, for the whole world, right? I mean, babies are a lot of work, and that's where, you know, I think that we've learned a lot about trying to encourage people to have one baby at a time, because you know, I mean, for people who have healthy twins, that's awesome, but if things don't go right, it can be really, really traumatic as well.
That, like, because I remember you encouraging us to do a Singleton, right? But then just go a little bit more about like why you think you're encouraging that more now.
Well, so the fertility, you know, the first IVF baby in the United States was born in 1982, right? And right around, you know, 2015, 16, 17, the IVF laboratory specialists got really good at making embryos, and pregnancy rates went up, and we were transferring 2 and 3 embryos at a time, and twin rates went up. And then, you know, we really started to be able to peel back the onion and see that, you know, somewhere between 10 to 15% of twin pregnancies resulted in kids that weren't wholly well. Either they were born too early, or they had birth defects, or they had developmental delay or autism. And because the success per embryo went up, it was really strongly recommended that in scenarios where you have good embryos to only transfer 1, because, you know, what we all want more than being pregnant is for our children to be healthy, and healthy, you know, means healthy up through adulthood and so on. So, you know, I always say, like, the 3 basics is you want your kid to be healthy, you want them to have a good emotional intelligence to find love and happiness, and you want them to be smart enough to leave your home, right? So those are the highlights, right?
Are all those things going well for you as a dad?
Well, yeah, I have 11-year-old and 9-year-old, so we're still at a fun time, yeah. But, you know, my kids have the ability to, you know, talk back, and once you send them to summer camp, they come back with a sailor mouth. So it's been interesting, yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
Things to look forward to.
We need more parenting advice from you.
Yeah.
As far as advice-wise, I mean, I want to really, reach out to the GWK team, like what they have available for our entire community, from, GWK Academy to everything out there. So, Brian and Rosalind and that whole team, I mean, they're just, amazing. And anybody who's, listening in on here, you guys should check it out, and just understand that, if you want to be a parent, there's enough people out there. There's enough GWKs and people like GWKs and everything, resources out there that you can make it happen. It is going to take longer than you thought, and it's likely going to be more expensive than you thought. But just persevere and take that step.
Amen. I think I would just say, the shocking thing for me as a new dad, I think, is that you really are reparenting yourself.
Yeah.
As you become a parent.
Being trained by your child too.
It's not something. I mean, it's not something I really understood
until.
But so just know, like, if you want to go on a journey of become their best self, and doing that with your partner, there's no experience other than that will do that, like being a parent. And we're only 11 months in, and I'm like, what? So much has happened.
So good.
So thank you for helping us make that journey possible. Really appreciate it.
I know. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, it's my personal passion to help people have families. And when it was hard back in 2007, 8, 9 to do this, and that's kind of what led me to change my practice, to just try to, help our community do this. And it's been amazing. And for our community who needs help, to know that there's a safe place to get help, where you're going to be accepted and people are going to get you and have the resources to help you is important. So certainly I encourage everybody to, as they seek out healthcare providers, use the HRC, Healthcare Quality Leaderboard, to understand you're going to an LGBTQ competent provider, because not everybody is. And there are, if somebody doesn't want to treat you, you don't want to be there. Right. But there's enough people out there who do want to help our community. And I think it's important to say that for the same-sex male community, the gay male community, good sperm, young donor, healthy uterus, you actually have the best pregnancy rates out there. So that's something we have on our side, because there's not usually a lot of infertility involved. It's just you need amazing women to help you.
Yeah, and I guess, like, the obvious thing that we've learned too is just how amazing women are once you've gone through this process. And the caring, the delivery, the pressure put on women about so many things, but breastfeeding. We felt pressure about breastfeeding or giving,
pumping.
It's a lot. And so amen to that, women. I mean, it's amazing.
It's much harder to be a girl than it is to be a guy.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. That's for sure.
Well, thank you, Dr. Leondires. I'm glad we got to catch up.
Yeah.
We're in New York City for the foreseeable future, so we should
really. I need to understand that more.
Steven's in a new Broadway musical called New York, New York. It opens at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So we're come down, bring the kids.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that once the weather gets better.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that. And and you guys keep doing what you're doing. It is inspiring, and keep telling your story, because I think that's so much of acceptance for our families is just being out there, right?
Great.
And that there's nothing scary about an LGBTQ plus family. We're just a family. We're just parents, and we're on the same journey as, like, the vast majority of other people. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you need to hop off. I totally understand, but we do have some questions. Would you want to answer?
Sure.
Just not a lot. But did you use frozen or fresh eggs?
So you guys used fresh eggs, right? And fresh versus frozen eggs, right around 2016, frozen eggs became, it got released from an experimental standpoint to be in full use. And the challenge with using fresh eggs is you only get 6 eggs in a lot. And there's such a large attrition rate. Live birth rates from 6 eggs is usually 1 baby about 50% of the time. So for a gay male couple, 6 eggs is not, you can't really split that and get 2 kids, right? So, but if you're a single, you can certainly do that. And then there are some insurance plans that allow you to buy 2 and 3 and 4 lots of eggs, right? And in that case, there you'd be able to kind of get through with a frozen egg pool.
And how many eggs are a good number?
It depends on the patient situation, but if somebody wants to have, ideally I like to retrieve at least 15 mature eggs. So 15 mature eggs means you're going to probably get about 20 eggs total, because not every egg is mature.
Yeah.
When you retrieve.
Yeah, I think that was such a fascinating thing when we went through the whole egg retrieval process. It's people are shocked. It's like, I think we had 8 eggs, retrieved, and then I think 20 were good enough to
there's this really kind of steep attrition curve, and the analogy I sometimes make, if you planted 20 tomato seeds, how many tomato bearing plants would you have? Not that, right?
Yeah, and I think you ended up with like 5 embryos or something. So it's fascinating. I think people are 38 is like are there any loans you recommend? So we used Future Family, but Future
That's
Family.
correct. Yeah, Future Family.
Which was a loan that we got, but I don't know if there's other loans out there that you would recommend, or if
I know
about.
Some of the surrogacy agencies have loan programs. I know we have a loan program. I know some people would rather do like a home equity loan if they own a home. And then I know on GWK and Gay Parents to Be, there's a list of financial resources out there, from the Cade Foundation to Life Foundation to Men Having Babies to Nest Egg and so on. So all those they're gonna require you to be full financial disclosure. So sometimes that means you're not going to meet criteria, but there are some programs out there, and we already talked about it, since it's dollars over time, right? Some of it is just being strict with your budget.
Yeah, just for the person who asked the question, we didn't even get the loan until we really got to
the loan. Was much later, because
once she had a good positive pregnancy.
Yeah.
Then we got the loans. Not something you have to do from the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, this was so great.
So great. So good to see you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome, and I'm so happy you're in New York, and I'll definitely see you. And for everybody out there, through Gays with Kids, through Gay Parents to Be, you can certainly find me, and we'll do like a 30-minute kind of consultation and figure out what your next steps would be. And I know that that for everybody on there who's joined and listened in, the fact that you're on here, it means that it's probably going to happen for you. It's not going to be how you wanted it to happen, but it's going to happen. So.
No, but it'll be unforgettable.
It'll be unforgettable. Amazing.
Well, thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for listening in.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Stephen.
Thanks.
All right. And I'll check. You're going to post Maverick tonight, sleeping?
No. You just like post everything. Stop. No, we are.
All right. Good night. Bye.